Now going into the weaknesses, I'll go in reverse order this time. Kabir, what do you think are their biggest weakness?
So I think their biggest weakness is also their biggest strength. I think their experience is great, but I think that their age might play a factor because they'll be slower in the field. And I guess they'll be the worst fielding team in the IPL, bar Ravindra Jadeja. But their slowness in the field might be an issue. And yeah, that's my biggest weakness, I think.
Basically, two sides of the same coin: experience
Yeah.
and in the field. Noor, any other weaknesses you can see?
I was gonna say their fielding is going to be an issue with them this year. I, they had some good fielders in the past, but now most of them are, on the older side, so that's gonna be a little difficult for them. And I remember Dhoni was talking about this in the documentary he did. It's that he mentally adds 15 to 20 runs, just the amount of runs he loses on fielding to the score for Chennai. So I mean that's going to be an issue for them, obviously, but I think that's one they're very well aware of as well. And I think the second problem is for the past 1 or 2 years, whenever Chennai's played at home, they were great. Or, in the slower pitch when they could use spin. But when they played in flatter pitches, when you really need that explosive batting, that's when they really struggled when they played away. And I think with the conditions of the flat pitches in the UAE, I think that might be a problem for them. They're going to need to figure out how to be more explosive in terms of their batting because they won't be able to win matches simply by restricting the other team the way they did before, because the batting is going to be it's going to be much more higher scoring than the Chennai Stadium allowed it to be in general. So I think they have to take that into account.
Fair enough.
Yeah, they're not gonna have that sort of home field advantage where they can prepare shitty tracks and bowl four spinners.
Eshan,
For
what
sure.
about any other weaknesses?
I mean, I think another big question mark is like how well will Dhoni perform? I mean, as a fan, I really, really want him to perform, but he's been out of cricket for like almost 2 years now. So, I mean, the last thing he actually played was the IPL, I think, and
The
World Cup.
the World Cup. But it's been like a long time since, he has played any like cricket at a substantial level. So, just seeing how he fills the shoes of the captaincy and, actually being like a co-batsman is going to be interesting. And yeah, that's one thing.
Anything else?
So I think you guys have you've already touched upon everything that there was to be mentioned. And the lack of playing time that Ishan mentioned about Dhoni, I think that goes on for other players as well. Like Shane Watson, he hasn't played too much international cricket, neither has Ambati Rayudu, neither has Faf du Plessis in the past few years. And our bowling attack, the Indian bowlers as well, none of them have international experience as such. Like Deepak Chahar has played a few T20s. Piyush Chawla hasn't played for India in an extremely long time. So I think that lack of playing time and international exposure, that's a weakness that can bog Chennai down, and it can take them some time to warm up. And I'm expecting them to be a little rusty in the first few games, but we'll have to see how that goes.
Yeah.
So
I think those weaknesses have been touched upon, but I think
also, the fact that the IPL is happening in Dubai, that doesn't play to their advantage at all, because like the spin attack would be completely undermined. And I'm guessing they wouldn't have much control over how the pitches behave. And as Noor said, they'll always be flat, so they really need the batting lineup to step up.
Yeah, and I think because you just said that, one of the weaknesses I see, which I'm surprised no one has touched on as yet, I mean, Shiv touched on it earlier, is the absence of Suresh Raina. I mean, if he doesn't come back, that is. But at the time we're making this, he's supposed to be out of the IPL, and that is a big thing for them, because he's been Mr. Chennai almost after Dhoni, and the fact that they don't have him this season is gonna be a big problem, I'd say, for them, because they're gonna have to bank on a couple of younger men who I'm gonna touch on when I give out my team. But I feel like they're gonna need a lot of other players to step up, because even a bad season for Raina was 400 runs. So now with those 400 runs gone, it's gonna be interesting to see how they play, how their batting shapes up.